Cool. Let's do a quick round of intros. I guess the icebreaker question along with the intro is, if you were not in crypto, what would your alternative career be? Let's go from you.
I would continue my career as software engineer, software architect, and I would be still at Porsche, I think, in Stuttgart.
Nice.
I would be exactly continuing the career. I actually am a mechanical engineer. I did rocket science, so I will probably be like in a lab doing a flight simulation.
I'll probably an academic, probably teaching, doing some research. I did a PhD, so that was where I wanted to go at first, and crypto arrived in the middle.
Love it. Everyone's research so far. Wow.
I probably would have just stayed in fintech product or switched over to my sort of moonlighting profession of becoming a sommelier.
Love it. Oh wow. Okay, we should unpack that towards the end. Yeah, I guess I always just loved driving stuff. So I was like, I would probably be a pilot, or yeah, I'm working towards my license soon. So yeah, that would be cool, I think, at some point. Cool. Well, let's set the stage. UX. I guess high level, what we could get started with is like, if everyone can just go around and share, like, what is your ultimate North Star metric, or what are you working towards as a metric for your company to set the stage here? We can go from you, Thorsten.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we look at success mostly through like some of DEX market share, sort of what % of global DEX volume do we process through 0x, and then from a more UX perspective, it's really looking at speed and execution quality. So like get as close to 100% successful transactions as we can.
And maybe for you guys are also having similar metrics as a exchange, but you also have a ton of other products. How do you think of it at 1inch?
So we are not doing just aggregation of decentralized exchanges. We built since 2022 also marketplace. We introduced intent-based swaps. So we try to cover different kind of customers. We have our SaaS service, our APIs, what we sell. We try to cover to help developers to build own unicorns, to help MetaMask, Coinbase Wallet, Trust Wallet, and Binance Wallet to offer swaps. So we compete directly with 0x, and thank you very much for this. Otherwise, my people became lazy and will stop to innovate. Me either. So we have also customer-facing products like the app, wallet, and actually a lot of things. And we try to fulfill all the needs of our customers, professional customers, and customers, like end-user customers, like people from the street who first touched recently Uniswap, maybe. Yeah, we try somehow to increase the conversion rate, so people understands directly when they use our products that they get it without proper explanation and understand after a couple of minutes how that works.
Very cool. Yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah. I mean, I can speak much on the developer experience side, but I think tooling for developers, my North Star is on the user side. I would say like easiness to kind of like onboard, right? Like we are trying to do a lot of like different things around kind of like SSO and social logins. So embedded wallet, I think, is probably one of the biggest kind of like concern that we should all have to onboard actually like normal users. And then also like to close the cycle is off-ramping, right? Now we started all the efforts around MetaMask card, but there is a lot of like different things. But I think off-ramping as a use case after like, you know, the PMF around stable and payments is probably like the biggest kind of low-hanging fruit that we should also focus to.
I got my card on Sunday. I'm very excited about it. Nice. How about you at Starkware?
As a layer 2, we think a little bit differently about users. One of our North Star metrics is the number of good apps that we have on the network and how many users these applications are able to onboard. So the success of the people that are building on Starknet and bringing users is our success as well. So that's the North Star metric is mostly like the number of good apps that are being built on Starknet.
Love it. Yeah, and I think the theme that I'm starting to see is like transacting users, good apps. I think what Francesco said is like new users, which is really cool, right? Like we have to make the user experience as easy to use as possible. And I think that's generally true across the board. I guess as some of you saw, we've seen more fintech companies. Even Robinhood announced a ton of crypto updates yesterday, right? And Thorsten, you mentioned you've spent a career before this in fintech. I'm curious, like, I guess what learnings were transferable in the UX you see across fintech and Web 2 towards Web 3? And in general, right, like we're all trying to solve the same goal at the end of the day. It's like, what have you learned so far? Just like seeing that from that angle and going into this space.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I would say a lot, like, I think a lot of what traditional finance and Web 2 does really well is actually hiding a lot of the complexity, right? Like, if you use your credit card, you don't really notice like what networks it's on. If you buy stocks, you're not really having to worry about like which pool is it settled, who are the counterparties, right? But I think in Web 3, a lot of it is currently built with like infrastructure first almost, right? We're thinking about the infrastructure is exposed, the user has to actually worry about it, right? I have to know like which chain is this on, like how is this being routed, like do I have the gas token? And I think there's a lot of opportunity to actually remove and hide a lot of that complexity and bring over some of the patterns we see in Web 2.
Definitely. Anyone want to add a comment to like your approach to UX?
I think post Spectra, we're starting to see stuff like batch transaction as first. In the same time, I'm also feeling like myself like, okay, it's so early, right? Because in a fintech world, transacting or at least batch transacting in your e-banking is something like super normal, natural, right? But the fact that we kind of like achieve this through such an important EIP is also like in the right way. Is also like creating a lot of like new opportunity. Revoke, but on the same way, there is still so many debates around obviously chain abstraction. Ultimately we don't want to have anything to do with kind of like gas fee payments. So we want to make sure that we also like delegating access. So it's something that I'm super passionate about. So delegation framework. But there is a lot of like interesting things happening on these exactly two verticals.
Starknet's approach to UX has been usually has been in putting account abstraction at the very core of the design of the layer 2. So when we launched on mainnet, 3 years before Spectra, it was native account abstraction was already account abstraction was already native on Starknet, so it meant that we didn't have EOA or smart accounts. Every single account was a smart account, and it could access a paymaster. It could get session keys. So that's a bit how we've been approaching UX at Starkware, is like giving the devs the tools to build a great UX for users, and that's been through account abstraction.
And would you say for that, like I'm a big user of Argent as well, right? Which we branded already. Like, would you say like what percentage of that is like your efforts versus the efforts maybe that goes into building the ecosystem so that apps can build on top? And this is similar across the board, right? MetaMask Snaps. We have like 1inch building like hardware wallets and like other types of products to bring in new users. It's like, how do you think about that, like in terms of prioritizing your core product and helping other teams that are building on top of your products? Maybe we can start with you, like for Ready.
I think that goes hand in hand in the sense that the more they are the first users, they're the first devs that are adopting your tech. They're trying to innovate as well, and they give you meaningful feedback on how to design your protocol, how to design the architecture of the protocol, account abstraction. So we've been building hand in hand with Argent, now called Ready, since day one, and they've been at the forefront of account abstraction. And as a protocol or as a layer 2 infra, we are here to help them, but they help us a lot as well with meaningful feedback and bringing on board users as well. And they're also, I'd say, like a window to showcase the word, hey, look, this is what account abstraction can look like. And I think that's been very helpful for Starknet.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Something also you mentioned earlier, you told that 0x keeps you on your toes, right? I also saw your tweet earlier about execution difference between Uniswap and 1inch. So I guess let's get competitive here and let's get spicy, right? Like, we're all competitors on one level. But recently, I've been noticing, whether it's chains or whether it's products, there's a lot of collusion as well, like people helping each other out. If you've been here in the space for long, like, have you noticed a change in how we as an industry collaborate? And this is like, an open question, because on the wallet side, for example, like Zerion, we work with several other wallets on data. And I think similarly, we work with several of your teams on like different parts of the stack. So it's kind of like a give and receive, right? So yeah, I'm curious, like what changes have you seen? Have you become more open as an industry, or have you started to become more, competitive in a closed way? Yeah, like hot takes are welcome.
So from my side, I can say I have now less haters. So
Only becoming more, yeah.
Personally, so at the beginning was kind of always drama in DeFi space, and 1inch and all the competitors. I think some of the community members just posted memes with 2 apes with knives, 1inch against Paraswap and so on. Was really funny. I think we are still in the position that everyone is cooking own soup. Uniswap is working on a standard for cross-chain swaps. Didn't include us. We tried to jump into it. Was complicated, and I don't think so that we move forward properly there. We want to contribute as well, but somehow, kind of, it doesn't work properly from our point of view. We designed our protocol, we published it, the white paper, the reference implementation under MIT license, and still people are building own things. They could theoretically use it. They could use, we paid like $500,000 for a security audit of it, so they could just use it, yeah, theoretically, but they of course, everyone, I think it's a human thing, psychology, that everyone wants to build own thing, to build own unicorn, and would like to say, okay, I own this everything. What this Uniswap actually, from our point of view, is doing right now, launching layer 2, Unichain, what problem they solve? Their own problem. They would like to have the ownership over the network fees and network transactions. They would like replace Ethereum from our point of view. It's not super problem because we are already kind of more or less cross-chain now with all the protocols what we see and 1inch cross-chain swaps. Liquidity became very fragmented. I would say also went to Solana, to Sui, to Aptos, and some other. But still, it's kind of what gives, like, what prevents proper innovations. We could collaborate all together. We can build together something what is much bigger than we have right now. But from other side, there's also competition. Competition is like not like it's like a sparring, like sparring with sparring partners, I would say. Yeah, we are all friends. We are all one community, Web3 community. We are growing it. The space for the adoption for traditional finance. I say about Web3 movement, it's like early days of internet. All the banks, all the financial industry could also still use telephone maybe, yeah, for settlement of deals, but they decided to use internet because it's much more efficient. We are much more efficient, and we are the next internet.
I think, I mean, we see a bunch of like difference in probably the past 6 to 8 months also on the EF side, right? We're opening our eyes around verticalized scaling from Solana, coming hard around different kind of angle. We have a lot of lessons learned around snaps. We build this permissionless innovation layer where everybody is able to do it. Also, like, give us a lot of like insights around, what everybody want to have their own personalized journey, right? Not everyone is dedicated to use any snap. Not everyone. That's why kind of like, what do we want to integrate next, right? I think depends also like on the journeys. And I think like, we will have, as you have in Web 2, like that's an innovation path. You have specialization, you have verticalization, but I think like, especially the Ethereum ecosystem understood in the past 6 to 8 months that EF obviously need to kind of like take a lot of like more responsibility in driving the ecosystem. I think we see a lot of changes, and every player need to be aligned on that, right? Layer 2 has all right now a lot of pressure. Fusaka is coming earlier than expected. There is a lot of like blobs requirements. So like the linear R&D team right now is super hands-on on working on these things, like every other layer 2 teams. But I mean, on the wallet side is the same, right? Like EF is pushing standards around wallets. We see obviously the embedded wallet narrative coming more and more. It's natural, user need it. At least I would say it's not an hot take, but at least like 70-80% of people, maybe in the next 2 years, will be either SSO or social logins. And I mean, and you see already like the big debates around kind of like smart accounts, sub accounts, and how you want to kind of delegate that. But also like having 50 sub accounts per dApp is not also like the best user experience. But I think things are evolving, right? And it's more, I would say, more a cooperation, but I also would say we get also much higher level in seeing also like other ecosystem progressing fast. There is always trade-off around technical narrative and architectural designs and community grow, but that's the case. Vertical scaling is our way to go. But also I think like in the Ethereum ecosystem, we also appreciate the fact they want to build a privacy-preserving ecosystem. We want to still maintain a level of decentralization. It will be not fully decentralized. We need to compromise, and I think people are starting to understand that we need to compromise Cyberpunk's values in order to get more and more ecosystem on our wings. Yeah.
Yeah, fair point. I mean, I think there's also cultural differences, right, that are always changing. Like, I was at Solana Accelerate, and as an EVM guy, it was different to see like a very business-oriented community versus like maybe a philosophically oriented community. So like, you're right. I think like times are changing, and a lot of us are having to adapt because of that. I guess for like both of you here, like one thing they touched on is also how like a lot of the work sometimes is also like who's coordinating at the high level, right? Like what ecosystem is trending. Maybe a lot of people are currently launching their own chains, like you mentioned Unichain. So I guess like how are you maybe at 0x prioritizing like what chains do you add? Like what communities do you look into? And like we at Zerion, we just launched Solana support, and it took us much longer than expected because like things don't work across like. If you think EVM is complicated, adding a new, like, entirely different, like, virtual machine is like a different resource that you've got to allocate, right? So, yeah, I'm curious how you think about it like that, and yeah, what's the future look like?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're actually currently going through sort of the final touches on expanding into Solana, and it's exactly what you said, right? It's like it took a lot longer than we probably realized it would be, but it's
good to know this.
Yeah, alpha right here. Yeah, I see our marketing lead like laughing just because like the resources we had to do as well. It's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, in general, we essentially look at trends in the market. We look at new chains that are sort of coming out and what's about to launch. We look at the communities. We try to get in touch and sort of just form our own opinion on like, okay, is this sort of the next big thing, right? Because I think the problem is really like there's so many like chains and so many chains launching, right? It's like it's almost impossible to support all of them because it's not just adding it. It's also right like infrastructure to maintain it, like. Also, like bugs happen, right? You need to then like jump in and like take a look at it and debug it. And so we can't go to like, hey, we're going to support every single chain that's out there. It's just not feasible for our size and resources. But yeah, we try to sort of add the most relevant one and support sort of where the future of the ecosystem is going.
You have a take?
Actually, I have a question. Do you plan to add Bitcoin support? Maybe we should work together on it,
Yeah.
like not like we are building by ourselves. So something what is non-custody, not like use atomic swap approach. Maybe we can work together.
Yeah, I guess we will be planning to add Bitcoin support, so we'll work with both of you on that, if anything. I love the
Zero integrates us.
Yeah. No, exactly. I love the cooperation already. Yeah, no, I guess like around what you said, it's true. Like even costs. But we had a conversation with Hayden from Uniswap, like I think 2 months ago, and I mean it's not really working in the direction that you mentioned. Unfortunately, he thinks every Uniswap liquidity pool will eventually be its own chain because they have a lot more. Like imagine Uniswap USDC ETH, right? Has like hundreds of millions of dollars. So why doesn't it deserve to have its own blob, like its own block space as a chain? So like I guess as an app or as an infra provider, that's one of our biggest challenges, right? Like we are burdened with, on the user side, demand for like every new chain because users want to farm new chains. And on the infra side, there's no like capacity to support that. So I guess what is the end game here? If like what I mentioned, every liquidity pool becomes its own chain, that means it's just more complexity for infra providers, wallets, any dApp, and fragmentation for users, right? Like that is a bearish take or like a dystopian take from me, but like I guess how likely do you think we'll get to that versus like is there an alternative path? Even maybe from Starknet's perspective, yeah. I guess that's the question I've been thinking about more lately while designing experiences. Yeah, curious if you guys have come across this or thought about this in detail.
So from our side, we try to solve the complexity, what you get with new chains, more chains, with simple maybe how many, Anton, lines of code, 200 lines of code of our protocol, what just introduce a like simple layer for the user. So user don't have to think about, okay, now I need to find a path to execute, and then I need to sign a transaction, I need to send it, and I get sandwiched by math attackers. And it's very complicated. We try to just reduce it, so the user just think about what they want to get and how much they it's okay to lose, like in terms of like what is the price impact, and everything else is handled by the protocol. And then there's another layer of infrastructure layer, where all the market makers, arbitrage traders are doing the settlement, doing the transaction, follow the rules, and all the rules you can just put in 200 lines of code theoretically. So what we actually did. So it helps. It helps to scale. So you can easily scale actually to other blockchains as well. Of course, you have then the RPC node providers, more like additional complexity. We also try to figure out how to manage it, and actually doing by ourselves, running software as a service provider for RPC nodes nowadays, because you need I don't know, history nodes here, you need fast nodes here, and you need good quality, and then you have to deal with like 10 providers, maybe 20 providers, yeah. And we thought like we aggregate them and sell it to others. Yeah. So yeah, we try to reduce the complexity for the user and try to move all the complexity, all the risks as well to someone who is interested to make money. And these are market makers, arbitrage traders. That's why I say nowadays that we are not just aggregator of decentralized exchanges, we are just marketplace, global marketplace.
Yeah, I think I've also seen examples of teams using AI to like automatically parse new protocols or new chains, like what you said. Basically, it's a template.
Or writing code. Nowadays, yeah. I'm writing code. I do wipe coding. I create new projects. Recently, I built a news aggregator just by using AI.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's a good segue, actually. I guess how much do you think AI will influence each of your products and maybe even your workflows, like as a both individual level and company level?
Yeah, I can go ahead. I think I would say like in sort of like software development, we see it a lot. Like our engineers are experimenting with all the different tools, with Cursor, like Copilot, and they're actually starting to write more and more code with AI assist, and it just makes the teams more efficient, faster, right? You get better test coverage and all of that. So I think from that perspective, it's really good. But I think there's also like an opportunity to actually leverage it more in the product itself, right? So like we talked a bit about like removing the complexity or like hiding the complexity, right? And so I feel like there's an opportunity. We haven't necessarily like solved this part yet either, but like the user doesn't necessarily need to think about the chain in every context, right? Some tokens only exist on one versus another, and so it's almost silly to give the user like two drop-downs, right? Like, okay, pick your chain and then pick your token, but I think we can be smarter around like designing the interfaces so that it's more intuitive and it's more around what the user actually wants to do. I think like intent-based, for example.
I can share some experience. We introduced pick the token and then the network, and a lot of people, they don't like it. A lot of them, yeah, and the conversion dropped. But I have the feeling I need to push it through, like what we did with intent-based protocol. It's like with the maybe iPhone. People didn't know that they need iPhone before iPhone. They use BlackBerries. So, and nowadays they have iPhones. They like them, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I saw even at Uniswap, like they're doing interop, right? Like, but again, it's like all closed ecosystems where maybe they work with certain number of chains, or like it's like tricky. I guess there's no right approach, but I'm curious. maybe 6 months from now, we'll have more user research on whether what you said is true. Maybe it's like how the data is structured. Like a good example is most wallets now, I think MetaMask as well, like before it was swap, bridge, ton of different categories. Now everyone's trying to go towards just like a swap, right? Like a single, where it's like cross-chain, single chain, works well. And I think Snaps is a good example as well, where it's like you bring in new chains within the wallet without needing to build that yourself. Yeah, I think the future is like basically verticalized, and for data, we've got to be, I guess, just collaborating more together as a space, it looks like. Cool, well, now we'll have like a more fun section, last 5 minutes for hot takes. I know we've had some hot takes already, but let's get started. I guess like EVM versus Solana, what are we more bullish on? I know we're a neat CC.
Cairo.
Yeah.
Cairo VM is the virtual machine that
Cairo,
that Starknet is using.
Okay, of course, yeah.
Cairo.
Any other takes, EVM versus Solana?
All of them.
Oh, I love that, yeah.
Good one.
Yeah.
I really like what Patrick Collins put out. I think it was a tweet last week. He was trying to audit the major Solana dApps, and the majority of those had something like 15% of the source code not audited because it's closed source.
Right.
So it's also
Like Jupyter, right? So I took a look into it. We couldn't figure out where to read the code.
like they're actually like, and when they're asking for auditing kind of like certificates, it's basically like, oh, we maintain part of our like closed source because we don't want to share it. But the problem is, I mean, you want to also like audit closed source.
Yeah, most of the people didn't care about security audits, but in Ethereum we are a little bit like EVM compatible chains. We have seen a lot of hacks. That's why maybe we understand that very well audited smart contract makes sense. Yeah.
True, yeah. A lot of the data as well in Solana is like actually pretty bad to use. Like, yeah, terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, we're super excited about both, but yeah, I think like
sure.
it's definitely a shift, right? Like you're in EVM, you're used to open source, you're used to actually like being able to understand all the data. You go to Solana, it's very, very different, right? But it has its uses, right? There's a lot of activity, lots of like really cool projects, and super excited about the space.
Of course, yeah. The next one, and this, I put out a tweet saying, is it just me or am I spending more time on LinkedIn these days? For the first time, it seems like I just put out a hiring post on LinkedIn last week, and ever since I've been spending more time. So like, the question is Twitter versus LinkedIn. What are you more long-term bullish on?
I want Twitter back.
Right, bring back the good
Not X.
algorithm.
I want Twitter.
True. Every rebrand, by the way, in this space, no one calls MakerDAO Sky anymore. It's still Maker. I think same for Argent. So like, that's another
One
thing.
issue is coming as well for a brand. Let's see.
Fair. Any other? Have you been more Twitter, more LinkedIn, more maybe Farcaster? I don't know if there's any people here, but
I've been more LinkedIn, but it's just that Twitter. I'm a bit tired of Twitter.
Yeah, it feels like Twitter/X for the sort of fun stuff, but there's also so much like spam and scams in there. I think LinkedIn for a little bit more serious. I think for hiring and stuff like that, I would pick LinkedIn.
I've seen more unserious content on LinkedIn lately. But yeah, it's definitely changing. Yeah,
True.
Yeah, I think for technical debates, I definitely think like crypto Twitter, but with kind of like search parameters or something like that, right? I'm running like some N8 workflow specific for like getting interesting posts out, and I think like there is a lot of like time saved there because the wall right now are like the level, like the quality is so bad, and I'm like maybe even now every day is like not interested this, and it's still like coming the same type of posts. So I don't know what they're upgrading, but it's not going in the right filtering direction for me.
I get strongly the feeling that I need to build something by myself, so to avoid this shit posts.
Cool for Farcaster.
Yeah. I mean,
We
another.
let people pay for every post, a little bit, but we let pay, so no bots can publish a lot of scam.
If anyone here wants to take that idea and build it, they'll fund you. Go see him later. Last question here. I mean, this is also like, do we want to build in the future crypto in the US or crypto in Europe or somewhere else? Like, what are we most bullish on?
Crypto is global, so planet Earth.
Okay, good answer. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say true PMF is emerging market. So I only see true value in LATAM, Sub-Saharan Africa, and and Southeast Asia.
That's where the users are as well. Yeah.
I agree with Francesco.
Yeah, I think also agree. I feel like it's truly global. It's borderless. I do think there's an opportunity to localize for certain markets, right? It's like we're building US software and we expect somebody in Asia to use it. It doesn't always work well, but I think where we build it, in my opinion, doesn't matter.
For sure, yeah. Well, that wraps up a slightly hot, slightly intelligent conversation. Hope you all enjoyed it. Do we have any questions here? Can be individual or for the group? Go for it.
Talking about talking about UX perspective from a user, UX for user from a user perspective. Everybody of the, let's say, retail holds a lot of NFTs and tokens, right? But all the information, all the benefits, all the airdrops, anything that I can do with my holdings are like scattered all over the internet. I think especially Zerion, 1inch, and MetaMask. Are you guys planning to have an aggregated point where user get in, the wallet gets read, and he tells me, listen, you have those kind of benefits. You don't need to go to X, to Telegram, to Discord. We aggregated all of this data for you, so the user don't have to look for it anymore. I ask because I missed an airdrop of Wormhole for 12,000. I bought a ticket for Paris, and at the end of the day, I found out I could have claimed a free one. So I know that Zerion have a perks tab. What about MetaMask in 1inch?
I have my personal pet project. I call it Bytes, and it's actually solving my personal problem. I would like to understand what's going on in the market. I would like to know when someone write bad about me and about our company and project, and I would like to understand what 0x is publishing recently. What kind of or maybe a small comment from a video where I understand, okay, what are the plans of 0x? And with notifications, with everything, I think like I experiment with that, and maybe it can become a product. But yeah, I agree. We need something like that. So you subscribe on specific topics, and you get this information what you're looking for.
Yeah, with the non-EVM compatible snaps was something that we started right before even integrating natively on Solana, because people were installing the Solana snap just to get the EVM drop, right? The problem is, I think like now we're going actually in the opposite direction, because smart accounts are actually having more and more entry points and fragmentation around user experience. So this is not helping, right? And I think now we're also bringing all the topics around sub accounts. Even before actually like speaking about standardization around delegations, because you need to start, for example, like delegating rights to do something, even delegate rights to either an EOA or to another smart account to own and transact this information, if we want to actually have unification, right? But if I'm asking you, like, where are the standards around delegating rights to do things? There is not really standards. I see a huge effort. Basically, like Dan Feely started this delegation toolkit framework, and this is like open source. Everybody can use it, and people are already starting to actually like building delegation of rights. And I think this is probably the best unification. But if you ask me, like, where are the standards? There is no standards. I hope, in 6 months we're not coming back to this panel with saying that everybody has 100 smart account per DApp, because this will just worse up. But I think this will be the case. And I think, 7701 debates is starting to actually spice up. But this is another, architecture requiring other like upgrades. So it's also like not seeing well that kind of flow around unification. But I think chain abstraction is the other kind of like big topic. If you're also solving like chain abstraction on the right way, I think user will have also unification of different like assets.
Yeah, I mean, a good point I can add here is like, one of the first reasons people come to me being like, oh, I like to use Zerion wallets because we help you find an airdrop that maybe you didn't know you had before, right? So I think that problem can be solved with like, we use a company called Daylight, simple to use API. I think several wallets use them. So like, that'll be solved. I think what's now maybe a new problem I've personally faced. So like, I have Privy wallets, Sparrow wallets, maybe in like Pump.fun, a bunch of apps I try to use, and then I forget about it. And I still maybe like sent a bunch of Sol or ETH to those wallets. So I think another big challenge is like maybe previously it's like you have portfolio trackers, MetaMask portfolio, Zerion, you can connect all your ledgers, whatever, soft wallets in one place. But I think now it's becoming more complicated because you also have like embedded wallets. Some maybe use your email, some use a different address. So it's like, it's getting challenging. So I think like whoever can solve that maybe also will help. So like what you described, it's starting to get solved. I think companies should just, that's a good business model for them. They take a fee if you claim your wormhole airdrop or whatever. But I think like aggregating accounts. We've started to work on tracking smart contracts, 7702 wallets, turnkey wallets. So like it's a data issue we can solve for it. Yeah.
I got a message recently from a guy who came to me and said like you have still a wallet with airdrop from Uniswap. So, and he was asking for 20% of the airdrop for the help.
Yeah, it's like a bounty hacker for wallets, yeah.
Can maybe automate it. Yeah, it's really helpful also. It was a good amount of money nowadays.
Thank you, guys. And by the way, we built this infrastructure. I just wanted to know if you guys are going to implement it.
You can tell the name as a last marketing if you want. What's it called?
I mean, we're going to be with you guys.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you guys so much. I have a last one for you, actually. What would you choose, LTCon or any other side event? This is an obvious answer. Thank you guys, and thank you for choosing us today. It was a great event. Thank you for staying with us through the whole day.